외국인 경기장 도시형.
Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Tal'Darim Altar, we have Dignitas Bishu. He is spawning as our yellow Protoss player. His opponent, here in the bottom left-hand corner, sporting the red trunks, that is our red Protoss player, SlayerS Crank, who has himself taken out 2 members of Dignitas thus far. In Team Arena Challenge, of course, guys, this is winner's bracket. Round 1, we have $10,000 on the line in this tournament. $10,000 to first, $6,000 to first, $3,000 to second, $1,000 to third. So no small amount of money out there.
Yeah, and let's not forget this is Winners League style. If you continue to win, you will stay on. And so far, Crank has done a great job of doing that.
Yes,
He's
he has.
2-0 so far. The first team to 5 kills will win their round. And if SlayerS were to win this, hypothetically speaking, because they are ahead right now, they will go on to the round of 2, and Dignitas would fall down to the loser's bracket, where they will still have a shot to continue onwards. But that's just me hypothesizing.
Yeah.
Dignitas they could pull back.
Yeah, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do just that, as, Dignitas has thrown in a Terran player, and then a Zerg player, and if at first you don't succeed, try again. Now we have a Protoss, and we're going to see if they can... if that is going to go ahead and make the difference for them. Now, of course, the loser of the previous game does get to pick not just the player coming in, but also the map. So Bishu wanted to go into PvP on Tal'Darim Altar with a purpose because of the wide, even ground expansion from the main to the natural. This is 4-gate heaven, as there's 0 defenders advantage here on a map where there's 0 defenders, or on a map with a matchup that has 0 defenders advantage to begin with.
Yeah.
Or very little, I should say.
I agree with you. Anytime a Protoss player selects Tal'Darim Altar for their PvP battle, immediately your mind thinks to 4-gate.
Oh, yeah.
4-gate versus 4-gate versus 4-gate. And anytime a player tries to do something else, I feel like they're hindered to such a serious disadvantage. Unless your skill set in StarCraft 2 is phenomenal, you're going to have a very hard time holding off a 4-gate.
Definitely. And looks like Crank decided to go with a gateway cybernetic score that was 1 supply after his opponent, so Bishu wants to make sure that he gets his warp gate. Oh no, actually, this is kind of interesting. He's used all of his Chrono Boost so far, making sure that he stays ahead in the pro count despite the fact that he had the earlier gateway out. So he's actually going to be a lot later to that, whereas, so much Chrono Boost here. This is going to be very fast warp gate out of Crank. Now, and there it is, Robo, coming up right away for Bishu.
Alright, so I guess we were totally wrong in our analysis
as to why Bishu wanted to pick this map. Now, Crank is doing exactly what we thought is going to happen. Yeah, Chrono boosting that warp gate research very quickly. I would expect nothing less than a 4-gate out of him. But Bishu, man, going with this Robo so early makes you very, very susceptible to early pressure.
I'm surprised Crank didn't force that probe in there. Yeah. He could have gotten a full scout off. I'm not too sure why he pulled away, but now he doesn't know that Bishu's actually going for a very fast robotics facility. This could be interesting.
There's gateways 2, 3, and 4 coming out of Crank, so no surprise there. And it's on 1 gas to begin with as well. This is going to be a very aggressive Zealot Stalker 4-gate, yes.
But
and there's our Immortal.
Will have the Immortal, and he is adding on the 2nd gateway. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 3rd gateway added on pretty soon here.
This is going to come down to a pretty ridiculous battle here in a bit. Look at that. Forward pylons going down. This is going to be very entertaining, folks.
Now, Immortals are pretty damn good, last I heard, especially with their 6 range. They can slaughter Stalkers very easily, and as long as Bishu can hold off the Zealots from getting to his Immortals, he can actually hold off the 4-gate, but it's going to be very hard still because, like we said before, it's Tal'Darim. 4-gate is king on this map.
You know, this kind of game seems like
Immortals.
The epitome of what Blizzard was going for whenever they nerfed warp-gate research time, because and also buffed the time to actually produce units outside of gateways that weren't warp-gates.
Oh, God.
So we're going to see how this works out, because that is a lot of units coming down. We'll see if Crank even decides to wait for 1 more warp in. He sees that Immortal and backs up a little bit. Looks like he is going to wait for one more Warp In, but of course that's going to allow that second Immortal to hit the field.
Yeah, now there's 2 Immortals on the field, so those Stalkers aren't going to be able to do much work at all. It's really going to come down to Crank getting Zealots in, and look at that. He warps in Zealots. He sees that there's Immortals out. Zealots are perfect. If he can get the Zealots next to the Immortals, he can crush this army. Let's see if he can do it.
I don't know if he can, though, because Bishu went pure Zealots to go ahead and attack behind these Immortals, so those Zealots are actually going down, and it's just Immortals versus Stalkers now.
Oh my God.
And Immortals will win that fight all day long.
I guess Bishu went into this map with the intention of going with this build, realizing that Crank was probably going to 4-gate him, and maybe he's found a way to hold off the 4-gate. Let's see if he can do it. One Immortal is getting weakened. He loses it.
Yeah, and it looks like he's just down to his last Immortal. This is starting to look a little bit better for Crank. He's making his way in. Now we finally have a couple of Zealots, and there's the second Immortal.
Oh my God.
Oh, one Immortal does go down,
timely.
but look at this one in the back. He's doing so much damage right now, and just for the moment, Bishu has actually held, and he's turned these into Warp Gates as well. His Warp Gate research did finish up.
And I think Bishu's actually going to make the hold. And remember, guys, if he holds this right now, he has a significant tech advantage. He's already got Robotics Facility down. So he could be in a very good spot. Let's see if he can do it. That Immortal is doing work. The Zealot's immediately going after the Immortal. He needs to warp in more units right now. That Immortal's giving chase, or being chased, and a second Immortal comes
in the
out.
back. Rebels are pulled off of the line as well. Oh God! And
he's not fighting with that Immortal though.
That's yeah. I mean, that's not all that bad, because now the Stalkers are actually completely undefended, and this Immortal is going to tear through those Stalkers. 2 more Stalkers going down, and now Bishu has a pretty good advantage, and he's warping in inside of Crank's main.
Oh my God. How did he pull that off?
Oh, so well done. How much economic damage has actually been done? 19 workers to 19 workers. They are dead even at the moment. Looks like that finally gets cleared up, but it did deny mining for quite a while. Bishu now starting to push out just a little bit.
In a sentry. It's almost at this point, it's like, I don't know what to do, so he decides to warp in a sentry, but it's really not going to help against Immortal Zealot.
Yeah.
And his army will get destroyed at the front. So it looks like the pylon is going to go down. I love what the Immortal is doing right now. It's not built to be the unit that runs around and gets chased by the other army, but in this situation, it works beautifully.
Yes, it does, and that Immortal does stay alive, and it's going to regather its shields here in a bit. We have a 13 supply advantage for Bishu. Couple of units sitting out here for Crank. As soon as Bishu realizes that, though, those units are dead.
Wow, he's just going to roll this this proxy pylon.
Yeah.
It's going to go down so fast. I just love the build from Bishu. Once again, I want to reiterate, Bishu picked Outer Rim with the intention of going with this build to specifically counter the 4-gate.
And it worked out really well for him. It got very dicey with that, I'm going to call it push 1.5 out of Crank. After he reinforced his initial push, he was so close to breaking through and starting to do economic damage, but Bishu's control was great. He held so well, and now he has a devastating army that's pushing at his opponent.
I love how he warped in sentries, though. It's like, what do I do to beat this composition? Let me try sentries. I don't think they're very good. But at the very least, he can actually force field his
this
front
ramp right here.
But it's not. It's just a stopgap measure that won't last very long.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and all those Zealots aren't going down. Looks like one Zealot for Crank did actually get inside of the main of Bishu, but that's going to be dealt with pretty quickly. We'll take a look at that here. And he'll warp in something I would assume to take that out, as that Zealot could do a lot of damage, but it's not going to be enough to make up for all these units pushing in for Bishu. The rest of this is going to go down here in a second. More Zealots being warped in for Bishu at the same time.
How's this Probe Light doing?
Oh wow. There's not much left there. And it looks like this Zealot finally did get taken out, so Bishu's economy is quite a bit better than Crank's. Now 42 supply to 13, and there's the GG.